What's up? Welcome into today's episode of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. We are live here from the Combine. Me, Mike Renner, Ryan Wilson, Leger Douzable. First off, fellas, what's your favorite part every year of coming to the NFL Combine? What do you look forward to the most, Leger?
Interacting with the players, right? It's
That's
always great. Ha! Stole your answer. It's always great to see what their temperament is like, how they interact, not just because when you hear Ryan and Mike, you're always under evaluation, right? Mm-hmm. How you interact with the support staff, how you interact with the media, how you interact with the other players here as well. So it's a blessing to be able to come here and talk to these players one-on-one and just, for 10, 15 minutes, see what type of temperament they have, right, with certain questions, how they respond to certain questions, because that's what teams are looking at this entire week as well. Yes, I love the on-field stuff, probably not as much as a lot of people. I love more of the football drills and the actual 40 and, 225 tests. But I think interacting with the players and just checking their temperament is probably one of my favorite things about the Combine.
Yeah, our buddy Pete Prisco makes fun of me because I fall in love this time of year. This is my Valentine's Day. And I'm a little older than you two, and I have a teenager. And these kids are pretty close in age to my kids.
Yeah.
So I appreciate having an opportunity to talk to them. And, there's not that much difference between being 18 and a senior in high school and being 21 and getting your first real job where you're going to make a ton of money. You might have to take care of people. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with it. So I'm with Leger. I love talking to these guys. I love falling in love 329 times, it turns out, this week.
Well, sometimes on the flip side, you find guys that they give bad answers and sound like they're not prepared at the podium, and it's like, why aren't they prepared in today's day and age where agents have these guys ready to rip on every single, they've controlled every single part of the process. So I do agree that's valuable. My favorite part, though, is seeing which NFL coach is still at Prime 47 at 4 in the morning. You go Wednesday out here. That's my favorite part. That's what I look forward to.
Let me. Can I say one thing quickly? The weirdest interview I've ever had on the set. And I think he was just nervous. Was typically 99% are good. James Cook was incredibly quiet, and it was a lot of one-word answers.
Really?
And I think he was nervous. And
sure.
I think Kirby Smart's joked about whoever could get the most out of either James Cook or Brock Bowers will win an award. But just to your point, typically these guys are pretty polished, at least one-on-one.
All right, today's show, we're going to do the players who are most excited to watch on the offensive side of the ball, players are most excited to watch on the defensive side of the ball, some questions we want answered at this Combine, and then end it with some sleepers. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, Leger. Who are the three players you are looking forward to seeing the most here?
Yeah, first at the running back position, Quinshon Judkins. I know a lot of people are questioning whether this guy has long speed or breakaway speed, and I would just tell them to turn on the Marshall tape when he broke one for 70. And the safety had an angle, and he left him in dust too.
It's because of the run against Notre Dame. That's why people are asking, because he got hawked by Leonard Moore, and it was on the stage where everyone saw him. Like, that was the game everyone probably watched.
I think towards the end of the year, and this, at running backs, sometimes they get banged up.
Yes.
Like, he was more fresh in that Marshall game,
yes.
right? So I think towards the end of the year, got a lot of wear and tear in your body. One thing I do know about Quinshon Judkins is he's not going down on first contact.
Yes.
And as a former player, a defensive player, I love that mindset. Like, this dude is looking for contact when he gets to the second level, and if you do not bring your hard hat, he will embarrass you on national TV.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
So I like his teammate Trevion Henderson a little better. As a defensive tackle coming through the A or B gap, who would you rather not tackle? Quinshon, who's more of a bruiser, or Trevion, who's a little twitchier?
See, that's tough, right? Because if I'm coming off the block, that's when you can get embarrassed by Quinshon, right? Because you're coming off a block,
run you
and
over.
Your chest is right there. But like you said, Trevion, and as far as short area quickness, the jump cut ability, that can cause you issues as well in a small area. That's a tough answer. I fear nobody.
That's the answer.
I think Quinshon's better between the tackles, though.
I do too, for sure. Again, I'm a little bit higher on Quinshon and Trevion. Love Trevion's game as well, but I'm a little higher on Quinshon.
Are you higher on Quinshon over Trevion as well?
I'm higher on Quinshon over Trevion.
So
I finally found somebody that's...
Two guys are wrong on the set.
Everybody... you sound like Pete Prisco right now.
I got to stop.
Everybody I've talked to was like they're higher on Trevion, so Mike's the first person that I've met that was with me higher on Quinshon. Next guy, receiver, Jaden Higgins. From Iowa State. Guys that are 6'4", 215 pounds, usually don't get in and out of breaks as well as he does. I don't think enough people are talking about him. I honestly think he's a guy that can go at the top of the second round that's going to be an impact player from day one. Love what I saw from him at the Senior Bowl and throughout the season at Iowa State. I think he has a high ceiling, and his best football's ahead of him.
I like Jaden, and it feels like love that you mentioned top of the second round, because that's almost like the high-end possession receiver sort of slot that they always go, like the Michael Pittmans,
correct,
the T. Higgins. I'm not sure he's as good as T. Higgins, but I think he's about. I feel similarly about him as I did Michael Pittman.
Correct.
Right now,
Yeah.
where they are big-bodied.
I was going to ask you. So compared to Xavier Hutchinson, who played at Iowa State, you like him a lot more.
I like him a lot more than Xavier.
Okay, because I'm on the other side of that right now, so we'll see. But I get it. Like it could the range.
So you like Noel better?
I do. A little twitchier.
That's the thing. Everybody likes Noel better than Higgins. I like Higgins better than Noel.
But Higgins is reason why Higgins was
Dr. Speed.
But I don't think Higgins is slow though, and that's why here at the Combine I think he'll test fairly well across the board. I don't think he's a high-end athlete, but I don't think he's a zero either. So
Pittman's high praise.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And my last guy, me and Rye were talking about this guy before we came on air. I was kind of bummed that he wasn't at the Senior Bowl because I was excited to see him there because I've actually watched his tape for the last few years, and that's Charles Grant from William & Mary. This offseason, people were talking about him going to the back of the first round, right? And they still might be talking about it.
He had offers to leave, and he was loyal to Mike London, and he stayed.
And Mike London's a heck of a coach, man. I've had the pleasure to call one of their games and actually get to sit and talk with him. And there's a reason why his players love him, is what I'll say this. But Charles Grant was a guy I'm really excited. Very athletic offensive tackle as well. Talking to Rye, it seems like he will be doing everything here. So
he said, I read an interview. He said
it'll be interesting to see because
he had lower body injury.
He didn't do anything at the Senior Bowl. It'll be interesting. I think he has a real opportunity to get his name back circulating at maybe top of the second, late first round.
Do you want Mike London's comp was for
Who?
Charles?
What was it?
Tron Armstead?
Close. DeBrickshaw Ferguson.
I was going to say DeBrickshaw. He looks just like DeBrickshaw Ferguson.
But, yeah.
Because Tron Armstead came out of, Arkansas State?
Yeah.
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff, sorry. 4.71 he ran. Like
crazy.
That put him, Charles Grant's going to be, maybe not 4.71, but in
that 4.8.
In there,
Dr. Speed, what's the over-under on the 40 for Charles Grant?
4.8. I think he's going to run about a 4.8.
I'm going to go under 4.8 just because I got to rep William & Mary.
I love that. All right, Ryan, who are your three guys?
I got to by the end of this, you guys are going to be tired of it, and Mike might already be tired of it because we were talking about it at the Shrine in the Senior Bowl. Kyle McCord is my guy.
What are you looking forward to watching from him, though? Throwing? Running?
I think he's a better let's say, what's his 40 time going to be? 4.85, over-under that.
That's about right.
Okay.
I'd say I lean under just because no one's terrible athletes anymore.
Because Josh Allen ran the 4.8s, and we forget that he was, he's not a 4.6 guy. But I think, and I was just talking to someone in Cleveland Browns radio that was explaining to me that covers Ohio State very closely. What he was asked to do at Ohio State was completely different with what he was asked to being the big fish in the little pond in Syracuse.
For sure.
And we were talking about this at the Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, me and Mike, how important confidence is, whatever position you're playing, and he was a completely different player. Yeah. And that goes to the next point. Fit matters at the next level. You can't be thrown into the Cleveland Browns, for example, and expect to have success.
I do worry, though, if Ohio State was too much pressure, what's the New York Jets going to be? What's wherever he goes to the next level? It's not like the pressure gets less. It's obviously less at Syracuse than it is at Ohio State, but it only gets more in the NFL.
He needs to go to the Rams. I think that would be best case scenario.
That's actually a really good. Really good spot.
But he threw, like I was talking, I said, why so much more anticipation throws this year than last year? And basically said, I was playing with more confidence.
Yep.
And when you don't
confidence matters.
When you don't think you're going to get benched
every
series, you can go out there and sling it. Next up, Jalen Royals, Utah State wide receiver. Injury sidelined him late October, I believe. I think Dr. Speed doesn't think he's quite. I don't think you don't think he's going to run that fast, right?
I don't think he's that fast. I would say high 4.5s.
Which is interesting because my comp for him now, I thought he played faster than high 4.5s with Jaden Reed, and you might disagree with that as a Packers fan. But Jaden Reed came on the scene as a day two guy, and I thought he did some really good things when he got to Green Bay. And we'll see with Jalen Roy. Like, he's a number 2. I think that's the reality of a 2 or 3. And we'll see where his health-wise and whether he's going to work out. I don't know what his plans are. But I loved his tape up until the point, obviously, that he got hurt.
He reminds me of, and this is just purely body comp-wise, he looks just like Jackson Smith and Jigba to me. Because he has, Jackson Smith and Jigba has that unique lower half, long torso. Like, and it's like it's so obvious on tape when you like watch it, just stands out. Jalen Royals has that same build. And now, game-wise, obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba wasn't fast, right?
Yeah,
he was a high 4.5 guy.
4.5
getting
guy.
it done in the NFL. I think Royals is great in the short area, great in the intermediate game. I don't see him being an explosive threat at the next level, but when everyone's in too high, explosive threats aren't nearly as important. If you only need a couple of them, you only need 1 or 2. You can have guys who are like Jalen Royals, who are just talented underneath. And so I do agree. I'm very excited to see how he runs because also, like you said, he did have an injury at the end of the year.
Yeah, so we'll find out. And again, to Mike's point, St. Brown ran the 4.6s.
Yep.
So we'll figure it out together, guys. Next up, Woody Marks, running back, USC. We talked about him in the fall.
We did.
And he had a little juice. He's a Mississippi State transfer, and I'm just checking my notes here. 54 targets, 47 receptions. So he can do both. My comp for him was Bucky Irvin. I think he's juiced
That's
up.
a pretty good comp.
He will block.
Yeah.
And he is between the tackles. He'll run between the tackles. He gets outside. He's turning the corner. And you both guys talked about how deep this running back class is.
Yeah.
I like him like late day 2, but if you told me he went in the 5th round, I could get it because there's so much depth here.
And I do think, and this is going to lead into mine, where my first one I cheated here and just went tight ends and to the running backs with Woody Marks. The combine went to deep class when there's so many guys, and there's just in the running back class there's this like conglomeration of guys in like the 3rd and 4th round sort of grades where they're just like, gosh, you really can't decide between them. You're probably going to lean on who's the better athlete at the end of the day. You're probably going to, if you have these ties, I think this is where you break ties like that, is the guys who look better out there, well, they're probably the ones you'd probably lean on at the next level. So that's how I feel about this tight end class. Obviously, I think Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren from Michigan, Penn State respectively, those are your 1-2 of whatever order you have them in. It could be decided on the field on Thursday or whenever they work out.
Hold on, Mike. Who's your tight end 3?
Tight end 3 right now for me. It's a debate because if you're talking true inline tight ends, Gunnar Helm from Texas. If you're talking just on my board, I have Harold Fannin as tight end.
I was going to say it's probably Fannin.
But he's not a tight end, really. I mean, like he is a different – you are drafting him to a certain role at 6'3", 238. You're not just being like, I have a starting tight end need. I draft Harold Fannin. It's like, no, you kind of need to carve out whether it's a big slot, whether it's a tight end 2 and a two tight end heavy offense. Like you need something like that to be high on him. But if you have that guy is as good as it gets for that role.
Who's your tight end 1? Did you say out loud?
I have Colson Loveland.
Oh, okay.
That's my tight end 1.
You Colson as well?
Tyler Warren.
Now, Dr. Speed here is going to tell you something.
I don't care nothing about that. I'm a football guy.
Warren's
but he's not running the 4.5.
He ain't running in the 4.5s.
So that was my comp for him. It was a less athletic George Kittle.
Yeah.
Well, that's a high praise.
He plays similarly.
And he will block.
But I was like, he will rip your face off like George Kittle will.
Yeah.
And the way that they used him at Penn State, like I've never seen a tight end used that way. Like, dude snapped the ball versus USC and scored a touchdown down the seam.
Hardcore. He's like
They
backyard.
give him the ball in Wildcat formation as a quarterback. Like, he's a freak athlete. He just doesn't have the top end speed that George
Shout out
Kittle
Miranda.
has.
She's big Penn State.
We will not see Elijah Arroyo, though, for Miami.
I'm about to say, why?
Who's
mad
I
about
think he just opted out, right? It wasn't
is that a
any
thing?
injury.
If you're not a quarterback, you can do it.
Pretty brutal because he would have. I mean, I thought he would have blown it up.
He probably would have definitely blown it up.
So,
I was also surprised somebody have him as tight end 3.
Yeah.
Is he tight end 3 for you, Ryan, or no?
I have him. I'm trying to look right now. Let me check I got old people I check. I have him like tight end 6.
Okay. Ooh.
I like Mason Taylor at LSU.
Okay.
All right.
High end athlete. We'll see.
Yeah.
I like the UCLA guy a little bit too. Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't like him as much as I do. So Medaveo, I think.
Terrence Ferguson from Oregon's the other guy throw in that mix of
There's
just
so
like
many
I
guys.
want to see who they are. Next guy up, Jack Besh, TCU wide receiver. Similar reasons you talked about Jaden Higgins. It's like this guy does a lot of things well at the wide receiver position. Yep. Does he have downfield speed? Can he threaten? Is he explosive enough to win at the NFL level? Because he went for over 1,000 yards last year. I think he's a very skilled wide receiver. You say yes.
My comp for him is an obvious one. I think it's not original. Do you guys have one for him? Mine's Puka.
Okay.
Now Puka plays inside. I think Jack could probably do that, but Puka
I think Jack can play inside too.
Puka ran 4.5s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But and we've heard the Rams in the last scene talk about the time speed.
That's probably what got him to the 4th too.
Better.
So I feel like Jack Besh to me doesn't struggle to get open. Do you feel like he does?
No, I think he's a very natural receiver.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to why, like, as a freshman, he was playing and starting, like, he was seeing reps for LSU, right?
LSU, correct, yep.
That speaks to natural receiving ability, but I just wonder what kind of athlete. Is he really going to be limited to get down the football field at the next level?
And what range are you thinking about draft-wise?
I mean, I think he's a midday 2 guy.
Okay, we're all on the same page.
For sure, there.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at all the receivers at the Senior Bowl, he kind of like separated himself from, and that was a good group that was out there.
Great.
Last guy, before we get to the defense side of the ball, I'm going to go Armand Membu.
Love him.
From Missouri. Got to give some love to the trenches because I think Armand Membu, of the top guys, whether it's Will Campbell, whether it's Kelvin Banks, whether it's Tyler Booker, the guys you're seeing mocked in the first round, I bet he has the best week.
Ooh,
and I think if
like
he has
that.
the best week, I don't know if he goes OT1, but I think he could be OT2 off the board.
Hey, guess who my OT2 is right now?
Armand Membu?
Armand Membu.
So me and Rod have been talking about him for a while. If you go turn on that Mizzou versus Texas A&M tape, which a lot of those guys are going to go first, second round for Texas A&M.
And they got another guy next year who's going to go in like the first, second round. What's his name?
Membu put them all
Yes.
in jackets. Like, I know people will talk about his height. It's not the biggest concern for me. I think it was 6'3".
6'3", 34-inch
That's
arms.
tall enough. Like, people talking about moving him in the guard, stop it.
That's
He's a day one starter at right tackle.
Isaiah Wynn was shorter coming out of Georgia. Won the first round, started at tackle until whatever happened.
Then
with
they
his
moved him
career.
inside.
He got injured and whatnot, but he was good.
Yeah.
I think it's doable. So I think keep him at tackle.
Leisha, I mean, do you care if you're going up against a tackle that's 6'3" or 6'5"?
No, that's the thing that irks me about people. Everybody's saying, well, he doesn't have the longest arms. Well, you got to think this guy's been playing like that at the highest level in the SEC, and he's been that tall. He's had the arm length that he's had. Same thing. People say the same thing about Will Campbell, which I think is asinine. Like, Will Campbell should start at tackle. Now, again, if you need to slide him in at guard, yes.
Yeah.
But I think he's the most technically sound tackle in this draft. Why would you move him out of position right now?
And why, though, teams worry about length specifically, you saw in the Super Bowl. Joe Tooney against Josh Blair.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why you worry, because you long arm bull rush, and all of a sudden Tooney's just like, he doesn't know what to do. Can't find anything.
Yeah, but Armand's 6'3", 34-inch arms.
He has, so he has length, but then why they worry about height is because when you're taller and you go and bend from your waist, you can get
more
out
extension
farther. So if you extend all at the same time, you can travel farther and get that first touch easier. So that's why they want 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" tackles are like the prototype.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal because he's been 6'3" doing the SEC.
Yeah, I would say this too. It's with a caveat with Joe Tooney, right? Because this guy was an all-pro guard that had to kick out in the middle of the season. Like, Membu was playing tackle exclusively, right tackle. So like, it's not like he's got to learn a new position.
Right.
Like, he's been at right tackle his whole career.
All right, that was the offensive side of the ball. We're going to take a quick break. After that, going to get to the defensive side of the ball here at the NFL Combine. All right, on the defense, Leger, who you got for us?
So this will be interesting, right? I think Ryan will like my three guys.
My dude,
maybe not. Maybe so. Femi Oladejo. Me and Ryan were talking about this guy at the Senior Bowl.
Penn State.
Honestly, guys, I wouldn't be mad if this guy went in the back of the first round. He is a freak athlete. Yep. You turn on that Penn State game, good Lord, he gave them nightmares. Like him and a guy I'm going to talk about next, literally were singly the reason why they were in that game.
I don't want to name names, but number 72 had a long afternoon.
He
for
did.
Penn State.
Very long afternoon. And the thing about Oladejo, it's kind of like Abdul Carter. He was an inside backer. It was his first year on the edge. Mm-hmm. So you talk about the upside being there. And then at the Senior Bowl, he showed his versatility. Guys, in one-on-ones, he did one-on-ones with the D-line at edge, then went inside at the 3 technique. And you know what he did after that, Ryan?
What?
He went and covered backs out of the backfield as he was a linebacker. So when you talk about a Swiss Army knife that you can put in multiple positions that literally is just coming into his own on the edge position, I think his upside is out of this world.
So we talked to him at the Senior Bowl. You talked about it. He was off ball.
Yeah.
And the reason he moved was because they had so many dudes, and one of the guys you're about to talk about in the linebackers room, he said, let me try this. Like he's Abdul Carter and Micah Parsons. Cal transfer, he's super smart. We talked to him at 6:45 in the morning. I've never met anyone so juiced up at that time, and you saw it on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing, and I think we were sitting together.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike T was talking about. Mike Tomlin was talking about before practice.
And Mike usually knows. Cool story. Senior Bowl a few years ago, Mike Tomlin was talking to Will McDonald on the side and said, I was out there on the field and he was like, I watched every one of your spin moves. Will McDonald ended up going in the first round that year.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people
right after
they took Broderick Jones.
Mike T be knowing. So I would not be surprised. Listen to the name, Femi Oladejo gets into the back of that first round because, again, his upside is out of this world.
Well, and I do think in today's NFL that type of player, so the guy who can drop into coverage, the guy who can be an inside linebacker but then rush the passer like an edge rusher, or be an edge rusher but then drop into coverage like an inside linebacker, is becoming more in vogue than it was, say, 5 or 6 years ago, because the way defenses are setting up, because the proliferation of these hybrid fronts around the NFL where everyone wants to create confusion
Correct.
and basically have these answers for these multiple offenses. They're becoming multiple defenses. This is a guy that makes you a multiple defense because, well, he can do every single thing you want in the front
Literally.
seven. So, would not surprise me.
Next guy, I'm talking about his teammate. Ryan kind of alluded to it. And I don't think people are talking about this guy enough. Carson Schlesinger.
Yeah.
I love Jalen Walker. Love Jahad Campbell. Those guys are more linebackers, but they can play on the edge as well. Mm-hmm. From a pure stand-up linebacking position, he's my linebacker one.
Okay.
Sweet mercy alive.
All I got to say is I talked about Femi Oladejo in that Penn State game. Go turn on the tape and watch Carson Schlesinger in that game. I mean, the instincts this kid plays for. Let's not forget, this guy was a former walk-on. Right? He had to get it the hard way. And he's really developed and become an All-American, right?
Which is wild because he's going to test well.
He's going to test really well.
He's not, yeah.
All right, Dr. Speed, what we got?
No, I mean, low 4.6s probably.
That's moving.
That's great for him. That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's moving.
It's crazy to me that people aren't talking about this kid. Like, when I watch the tape, to me, like, when you're talking about just pure stand-up inside linebacker, he's my number one guy. Like, again, the instincts that I see, again, Jalen Walker's a heck of an athlete. Right, we saw versus Texas him get on the edge and get 3 sacks, and a lot of times I think at stand-up backer he's just feeling his way through. Right, same thing with Jahad Campbell.
Yep,
Schlesinger knows where the ball is going to be. His instincts and the way he studies tape, you can tell like he's fully prepared. He's got a little dog in him too. That Penn State game, he's talking trash every single play he made. I love that. Right, so again, pure stand-up linebacker, inside linebacker. He's my number one guy.
One thing, and he's like in the 220s, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I've come to, I don't want to say realize, but like believe strongly, especially at the linebacker position, it is not about size. It is about how they play it.
Yeah.
There will be, I'm blanking on who's the Bills linebacker, the one, Terrell Bernard.
Okay.
That guy comes downhill and hits.
And he's not the biggest guy either.
350-pound offensive lineman like he's the bigger guy.
Correct.
He's 215 pounds. Him coming out, I was like, he's 250 pounds. What's he going to do at the NFL level now? He's like a productive player. Those are the guys you want the guys who play physical linebacker, not necessarily the guys who just look like they should be physical. The 235-pounders who don't want to play through contact, you don't want those guys. You can take a 216-pounder. If that guy wants to hit, that guy can play linebacker in the league.
Yep. Last guy. I put Ryan on this guy early in the offseason. Zay Frazier, corner from UTSA. Now, he'll get the comparisons to Reek Willen because they went to the same school, and that's lazy. Reek Willen was a receiver and then moved to corner. Zay Frazier, this is kind of like his first year actually starting in that system. Had the pleasure of talking to him. I'll tell you this, guys. After week 6, and I love Jahdae Barron, I don't know if there was a corner that played with more confidence than this kid.
And we talked about confidence.
Like, I don't know if there was a kid that played with more confidence. The way he was able to read passing concepts, to understand in zone coverage what he could get away with, what he can get away with. And, Mike, you talk about speed. This guy's going to test out of this world. I talked to his head coach, Jeff Traylor, and he said, would not be surprised if he runs 4.2 something.
Ooh. You believe that?
Turn on the Temple tape, and me and Rod, I sent Rod this clip earlier this offseason. It was cover 3, and he got left in the middle of the field by the middle field safety. And he literally tracked the ball 40 yards in the air and high pointed and got the interception. When the receiver was like 15 yards ahead of him, he came and ran him down and took the ball away from him. Like, he's going to be a special athlete, and he's going to test out of this world. And do not be surprised by the end of the combine, people talk about him potentially going in the second round.
I think Mike and I were standing at the corner of the sidelines of the Shrine Bowl, and he will chirp. He's
an aggressive corner now.
He was doing a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And to your point about confidence, he lacked none of.
No.
And to me, cornerback, I like fast corners. Yeah. And I don't like the 40 for a lot of positions.
For corner?
I watch 40 for corner because regardless of how good you are, you will be behind a wide receiver in the NFL. You will be 2 yards behind. You'll have bitten on a double move. You have lost at the line of scrimmage, and you have to make up that ground at some point in time. If you run a 4.2 something,
it helps.
That makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot of mishaps if you can fly. So I like those guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of 4.2, my guy, Jahad Campbell.
I don't know about him a little bit earlier.
I don't know if he's going to run a 4.2, but you talk about the freakish athleticism.
Yeah.
Alabama, off-ball linebacker / moving wherever you wanted. I don't know if you call him tweener or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
But the juice with which this young man plays. And I actually have him ranked ahead of Jalen Walker, and I love both those guys. But just thinking
I'm not mad at that, though.
Up the road productivity, because, again, he's only going to get better. And we talk about Abdul Carter and even Femi Oladejo in terms of them being new to the position. I feel like this guy's probably going to get bigger and stronger and maybe even faster. And then once he continues to get more, and he plays pretty instinctive, but as he learns the game, I feel like he could just be a difference maker.
Where do you think his best position at the next level will be?
What do you think?
I just Mike that in a blitz heavy scheme.
They put him on the edge of Bama too, though.
Right. I mean, like, he gives you that versatility, but like I think he was good enough as a pure middle linebacker. He looked instinctive enough that, like, Jalen Walker, his tape at off-ball linebacker was fine. You got Campbell's tape as just a pure middle linebacker was very good.
But he could add 15 pounds, so it feels like his frame might be.
Yeah.
And then
he is a unique athlete. He could play.
Could you see him in like a Frankie Louvu type role? Remember, the Washington Commanders on third down, they put him on the edge to rush. But on first and second down, he's their interior linebacker.
When you have a guy that can be that disruptive anywhere, you got to use what you have.
Use the skill set they have.
Those are the off-ball linebackers I'm willing to take highly. I think your Quay Walkers of the world, your guys who aren't high-end blitzers, they just don't give you that ROI at the next level in today's NFL. The guys who are really different animals are the ones who, when it's a third down, they are a weapon for you as a blitzer. That's the guys I'll take in the first round, because they don't. A guy with his skill set isn't on the board in the third round. It just isn't. A guy who's that athletic at linebacker that can blitz like he does, it ain't on the board in the third round.
Next up, Nick Emenwari, safety out of
Love
South Carolina.
guy.
I don't think I'm speaking out of school, but our buddy Brian McFadden, obviously two-time Super Bowl champ, cornerback. He was the number one cornerback coming out of high school, by the way. On his way to Florida State.
He was.
This is his cornerback or defensive back one, discounting Travis Hunter. Like if Travis Hunter's a wide receiver, for example.
So ahead of Malachi Starks from Georgia.
Head of Malachi, head of Will Johnson.
Head of Jade.
Head of Zay.
I'm not mad at that. I gave you a call about this guy.
He is. So, he's built like a guy that probably you feel like would be stiff, playing sort of the tweener role.
Yeah.
He is so fluid. The ball skills are insane. He's incredibly instinctive. I don't know if it's the LSU game. There's a game that I can't remember who they were playing, that he was always around the ball, had at least one interception, and then he will knock your teeth out. So I said to you, like, if you told me he was going to the end of the first round to the Bills, sign me up for that all day long.
I love that fit.
That they would probably run that card in if he's still there.
He'd be bigger than their linebackers.
I called Ryan about him, and I was like, do you think he makes that transition to Will? But it's like, when I turn the tape on, it's like, he doesn't need to.
Right. You want that speed on the back end. He's too fast.
He's like Cam Chancellor, but just a better athlete a little bit. Which, that's no disrespect for Cam Chancellor. He's a heck of a player.
And that's a huge compliment, right? Absolutely. And Cam was a
you can probably count on one hand the amount of safeties in the NFL that are faster than Amanda Warren right now. Like,
that's right. He's going to move, right?
He's going to fly. Yeah. So.
And my last guy is defensive lineman out of Maryland, Jordan Phillips.
Love his game. Talked
to him at the Shrine Bowl, and you don't hear this a lot. Maybe you do, Lijay. He's usually offensive lineman. He was a wrestler.
Okay.
And, he understands leverage.
Yep.
And, he uses his hands well. And he plays with a little twitch for a big man.
He does.
And he's an incredibly smart young man, and he's focused on ball. So a lot of things you don't have to worry about in terms of once you get away from practice in the facility. And I thought he had a good week in Frisco at the Shrine Bowl, and then his tape I really liked a lot.
He's one of those guys that you immediately, from his stance, you're like, okay, he's different, because his stance is about an inch and a half off the ground. His ass gets so much lower than everyone else. He's so flexible for a nose tackle.
That wrestling background.
And then the guy, for 320, he is about as cut up a 320 as I've ever seen.
The
guy has not a lot of body fat on him at a defense acquisition.
I would say a guy that's probably in the same realm with him, and that me and Ryan like too as well, CJ West.
Oh, I love
Indiana.
CJ West.
Yeah.
I got them kind of like in the same area.
This class is so deep.
CJ West's fifth year, Jordan Phillips' third year coming out. He could have been like as good as CJ West if he just stayed. I feel like he almost went too early, because I thought that guy, if he stayed around, could have been a first rounder.
Probably.
He's that talented, but because he is raw when you watch his tape.
But he's day two, it feels like all day long,
right? Always with the youth, they're gonna what your projection is gonna be. That's gonna probably take you up around.
All right, my list. I'm gonna start with James Pierce, Tennessee edge rusher, just because I think he could do something insane in the 40. I watched this guy track down screens, and it's like he might run the 4.3s. The guy is truly special in that regard. but I want to see his 3-cone. I want to see his lateral agility because I know he's a linearly incredible athlete. But I watch his tape and I'm like, he reminds me of Leonard Floyd, where it's just like he needs get a little bit stronger because his bull rush dies too often. And 2, he just needs like a way to get through offensive linemen's hands more. He has to win basically completely clean or else he doesn't win at all. And those guys I kind of worry about. So I want to see his lateral agility. Does he have that potential to grow? I
think he's pretty bendy. Do you or no?
I don't think he's – I think he's a little tall on the taller end and doesn't like sink the way, your 6'2" edge rushers sink off the edge. So
I think he's real efficient with his hands when it comes down to it.
He plays
I would
way
agree. I don't
bigger
think he's more bendy than Mike Green. Obviously not Bill Carter.
Mike Green, Bill Carter, those guys are like the best in the class. Jalen Walker. Yeah. Like those are different animals. But they're all 6'2", 6'3". It's easier to bend when you're shorter. So 6'5", James Pierce, it's difficult. Next one, Will Johnson.
All right, Dr. Speed.
Loved Will Johnson coming into this season. I think we both had him number 1 overall, right?
Yep. But
17
I want to know
catches in 12 games last year, 16 in 6 games this past year. He was not as good this past year. He looked checked out, in my opinion, comparatively. He had the foot injury. I don't know if he's going to test here or whatnot.
Oh, okay. So he might have run.
I don't know after the
I think he needs to.
But he needs to at some point pre-draft because I don't see – so Darren Arnold went 4.5 last year. I think he's – around that or slower.
Yeah, so if he runs a 4.52, he's a first-round pick, though, right?
He still is.
Depending on the medical, I would think.
He's bigger. He wins in different ways, right? 6'2", 205.
Like, and I think Surtain ran in the 4.3s.
Surtain ran high 4.3s.
Yeah.
That year's class, J.C. Horn. But that was the COVID year where they both did pro day 4.3s.
Yeah. Gotcha, right.
So take it with a grain of salt. But still, they're much faster than Will Johnson. So,
but his 23 tape is 23
insane.
Tape
was
it's out of control. I would say even the Fresno tape was really good. Yeah, that was earlier on in the season,
the
though.
Pick 6.
Yeah, exactly.
But he won against Marvin Harrison Jr. He won against Roma Dunze.
Yeah.
He won against Isaiah Bond and
his 23 tape was crazy.
What's his face? Jermaine Burton. Like, he went against some dudes and 17 catches in 12 games.
Do you kind of put him in like the Derek Stingley Jr.? Because remember coming out that year, people were wondering would Sauce go before him?
Yeah.
But the Texans took, I guess, essentially the upside of what Will John or Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be.
And they
overtaking Sauce. They hit. They definitely hit.
Yeah, he could be this year's guy in that mold where it's like this past year's tape, we're throwing it out the window and relying on the 2023 tape. But you got to run faster than, if he goes over 4.55, you're in pretty rarefied air to still go top 15.
Correct.
Not a lot of guys have worked out that have been drafted at a high level.
Let's say he runs a
4.5.
Would you rather have him as a Packers fan or Jahdae Barron?
Ooh.
I'd rather have Will Johnson. I still think.
Okay. All right. So you're not going too far down the road.
I still think he can play press coverage.
Yeah, because as a Steelers
I love
fan,
Barron, though. I don't know.
Barron's good.
I love them both.
But I love Barron, his versatility and playing the slot, and they already have Javon Bullard as the Packers.
True.
So that's why I
because the Steelers fan, I would take Will Johnson and pair him opposite Joey Porter Jr. and hopefully get fewer penalty calls and then, go from there. But, yeah, those are good problems to have, I suppose.
And my last one, Deion Walker, the Kentucky defensive tackle. The man needs a W. He had about as bad a year from a draft perspective. He went from 51 pressures as a sophomore to 22 this past year.
Yeah.
Supposedly had a back injury. I think he just he was tired a lot of the game's injury. The guy's second half of games really wore down, but he's 6'7" and a half, 350. The guy's a unique specimen. He needs to go out here, be a little trimmer, be spry, test like you're a freak athlete. I don't think he has a chance to go in the first round anymore just based off of the Senior Bowl, based off his tape. Yep. But, man, this guy is too uniquely gifted for a man that size to just be a nothing in the NFL. So I still think there's something to be had
right.
there.
When you see half the productivity, and Mike touched on it, has to be an injury, I would imagine. You think otherwise?
It's tough, right? Could be an injury. Could it be? That's the thing. That's the knock been on him. He turns it on when he wants to, right? And when he turns it on, he's almost he's unblockable.
That size, for sure.
But is he going to be consistent in doing that? I remember we were watching at the Senior Bowl. I know a lot of people were like, I don't really see it from him. And then I remember the very next play, tight back drill, he splits a double team, gets a sack, and I'm like, y'all sure you're not high on this guy? That's the thing, as far as Mike said, guys aren't coming out the womb 6'7", 350, but can actually rush the passer.
Yep.
He can do that.
And off the edge, too. The guy line up as a stand-up outside linebacker and still win. It's
he's like a freak athlete for somebody that
It feels
size.
like the defensive version of DeJuan Jones. Whereas you
I like
find
that
that guy
call.
once in a
Wow.
lifetime, and you're like, all right, you need to put it together and not be a fourth-round pick, and you end up being a fourth-round pick and actually playing pretty well when you're healthy.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. After that, going to get to the biggest questions we want to see answered during the Combine, as well as some of our favorite Combine sleepers. Right up next. All right, first question here. Which D-line will separate themselves from a crowded class? So I think everyone here agrees Abdul Carter, Edge 1.
Yeah,
Mason
he's
Graham,
in his own league.
Mason Graham, DT 1.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement?
Yeah.
I do think after that, there's probably not a lot of agreement in terms of who's Edge 2, who's DT 2.
Who's your Edge 2?
I was about to ask that.
My Edge 2 is Jalen Walker.
Oh,
So you got him as
sweet.
an edge and not a linebacker.
I got him as an Edge.
my
You
Edge
got-
2 is Mike Green.
You already know my guy.
Oh, both Mike
Already
Greens.
know my guy.
I love
Mike
him.
Green's very good.
I love him much.
I will not argue too hard with Mike Green,
Yeah.
but it's also like
But I have Jalen Walker as a
an
backer.
off-ball.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
who's
Can
your-
I add one thing quickly?
Yeah.
And I know Mike's not quite there yet. I don't know if you have had opportunity. The more I watch Jack Sawyer, the more I think he is a top 20 guy.
I'm opposite.
See, you guys aren't on him yet. Okay.
you want to
All
hear
right.
my 40 time for him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you got, Dr.
I think
Pete?
4.75.
That's not awful.
Yeah.
It's not awful.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
What didn't Bosa run like a 4.8 or something like that?
Bosa was a different cat, though. Bosa also had like a 6'9" 3-cone, which is
Yeah.
like insane for a guy that
I think
size.
Jack's 260 and change, probably, right? Somewhere around there?
Yeah, probably. I think it's listed 265.
Okay.
I think Nick
That's
Bosa.
pretty good.
Joey came in heavier than Nick. They were both in like the high 260s.
So we'll see if you guys come around on my guy.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He's not, like I have him bottom of the first round, so edge 4 or 5 or whatever it is, but I like him a little bit more than you guys.
Who's your
right
guys DT to?
Walter Nolan.
Walter Nolan, yeah.
You know, and you've talked to me about this, and Kenneth Grant right now.
Okay.
I think if Kenneth Grant plays anywhere else but Michigan, we'd be talking a lot more about him, just because he was next to Mason Graham every
Yeah.
week.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, I know I called you right after watching some more of him, and it was like, for a guy that's 340, the way he's able to pass rush, I think, honestly, people talk about him not being able to get moved off the ball in the run game. I think his biggest upside is his pass rush.
Yeah.
Like, he can move really well. I go back to last year when he ran down Katron Allen 40
Did he?
yards down the road. Yeah, 40. He was like,
Oh, my goodness.
Katron Allen had like a 5-7 yard like head start on him. And he ran him down at 340. Like, big. And I'm actually excited to see what he runs.
He was.
'Cause I think he might run something sub 5.
Crazy?
They-
Okay.
I
That's
think he might
moving.
run sub 5.
They said on the Freaks list last year that he was sub 5. He was on the Freaks list before he even stepped foot at Michigan.
For sure.
He truly is a freak. But also, it's like Walter Nolan's a good athlete.
Yeah.
Derek Harmon's a good athlete. These DTs after, there's no. These aren't.
It's a deep DT
like
group.
Tyleek Williams was getting first round hype. He's not a plus athlete
Yeah.
the way these guys are. But all four of those DTs that are getting that top 20 hype, I fully expect all of them to go out and crush it next. The edge class, the only one who's really not a great athlete that is in first round mocks right now is Nick Scorton. Texas A&M. He's probably the only one.
I feel like he's a little twitch, though.
He's
explosive,
good, but
yeah.
he's just not on the level of Michael Williams is probably gonna. He's not gonna be Trayvon Walker, but he's a very good athlete. Shamar Stewart's gonna be on an
Shamar's
insane
gonna
level.
test off
You
the
think he
chart.
still
James
goes first?
Who goes first?
Shamar Stewart?
Oh, yeah. After he runs, let's have a conversation. Because
So the production doesn't bother you?
You know what's funny? I think
Oh, it bothers me. I don't have him first round. He's not my
telling
top
Mike this.
32.
We're going to talk to him tomorrow.
But
I was telling Mike this, and maybe Pete as well, but I was talking to BMAC, and you know this, and you know this as well. Coaching might have something to do why he and Scorton weren't as productive as perhaps they should have been.
yeah, he's not the only guy at Texas A&M that hasn't done diddly poo the last few
I
years.
mean, but it's also something to be said when you're with three other dogs. 'Cause let's not forget Shamar Turner at the D tackle position.
Yeah,
They
right.
had guys, so it's like you're not going to put it. Well, Walter Nolan still put up stats. So
I was gonna say, Ole
I was
Miss.
gonna say, where do y'all have so where do you have Jaden Ivey at?
Jared
Ivey?
Ivey.
Jared
I
Ivey,
have,
yeah, Jared Ivey.
I
I'm
love
sorry.
Jared Ivey.
I have him.
I have him
middle,
as a first round guy.
I have
my
him
top
middle
30.
of second.
Okay.
He's not going to test well. I don't
That's
think.
okay. It doesn't matter. You
I
can,
don't-
I think his length. I think his length is.
It doesn't
is
matter
what
to
separates
me.
him.
It matters to the NFL. Is not
But it
going to
should
draft a
matter.
guy he's in like
But here's
the
the
high
thing.
4.7s.
and
ish
we were
range.
just talking about this.
He's
Braden
so
Fisk is a
skilled.
first round pick, but last year, short arms, we pushed him down
Yeah.
because his arms aren't for the
People
conversation.
overthought it.
Yeah, and I think maybe Jared Ivey could be an example of just overthinking it.
I think so. That guy is he is the best. He's the most skilled pass rusher in this class, in my opinion. Or just not pass rusher, just like skilled defensive lineman in this class. He uses his hands so well, uses
Uses his hands
leverage so
really
well.
well.
He just knows how to attack blocks. That
Yeah.
guy's good at football. and he's big. Like, big's a skill along the defensive line. Big and strong's a skill. You don't have to be, when you're 285, you don't have to be twitched about the gills. You can win with size, length, technique. You just can't. So, yeah, we're all high.
And I'll just say one thing quickly. How that Ole Miss team didn't go undefeated with those dudes on defense is a crime.
Well, the crazy thing is everybody's always associate them with offense because of their head coach, right?
Yeah.
That team was led by its defense this year. That offense at spurts and go to the Kentucky game, it didn't show up.
Right.
The defense held them down all year long.
In every position.
All right. Who will move up the most of anyone in this combine?
I think. Did you write Oladejo on there? Was that
That
you?
was me.
Oh, I think Oladejo is a good call. Did you
wrote
give
both
us a
of those
time on
guys
Oladejo?
down.
What's that?
Did you give us a time on Dr. Speed Oladejo?
I didn't actually get to him.
You haven't got
for a
him yet?
time.
Okay. Because he,
Sorry.
the way he plays, it feels like he's going to test
And
well,
he's
doesn't it?
rocked up,
And
too.
he has absolutely rocked
Yes.
up. Mike, I'll ask you, who are some of the wide receivers you expect to be sort of burner surprises?
I think Kyle Williams is going to burn.
You love Kyle Williams.
There's not a lot in
Washington
this class. I think Travis Hunter's going to run fast.
Yeah.
I think
Is he going to run? you
Isaiah
think?
Bond.
He probably
I
ain't
hope
going to
he does.
run.
Yeah, I hope he does too.
Isaiah Bond. I think Isaiah Bond, Kyle Williams probably too fast. Aaron Smith's going to run fast from
Let
Georgia.
me ask you this: so, if Aaron Smith runs a 4.22 or whatever, are you still taking him on day 3?
Yeah, the guy cannot catch. Sorry.
He had
Sorry,
10
Aaron.
drops this year,
Somebody's going to probably take him late.
and he didn't play fast either. Was the other thing that,
Yeah.
that made me not angry but frustrated with what he should be doing.
Another guy I think is going to move up this board, and then surprise, we're talking about defensive linemen. Darius Alexander.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
He was also on Bruce Feldman's freak list. I think he has a 400-plus bench, so I'm interested to see what he does there. But I don't know if you guys were able to watch his bowl game versus Pittsburgh. This dude dropped over the middle of the field in the hook drop,
Yep.
got an interception, jumped over an offensive lineman, and took it 58 yards to the house.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember
He's
that.
a freak athlete. I think he's going to blow up the combine. And there's been some mocks that have him at the back of the first.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my big board here. Would you guys draft and I have these guys very closely? If you're picking pick 35, would you take Deion Walker or Darius Alexander?
I'm taking Alexander.
I'd
Just
probably
so-
take Darius Alexander.
so much
If I had
potential with-
between the
Well,
two.
the
Yeah.
thing about the versatility, too, now, again, Deion Walker at Kentucky did play on the edge, played inside, but I don't think that's going to translate to NFL. But Darius Walker at the Senior Bowl showed he can rush on the edge.
Yep.
He can rush inside, and they did it at Toledo as well. So
He had a great week.
I think, again, he's going to blow up the combine, and because he did so well, kind of had the same trajectory as Quinyon Mitchell, right? Quinyon Mitchell was a guy that coming into Senior Bowl was probably like late first round.
Yeah.
And then took over the Senior Bowl.
Answered
It was
every
like-
question.
Exactly. And everybody was like, oh, he's quarterback number 1.
And I believe he took Thursday off too. A well-earned,
Yeah,
a
for
well,
sure.
well-earned break.
So I think that Darius Alexander is a guy who's throughout this process. I know right now I have him as a second rounder, but I would not be
Yeah.
surprised back at the end of the first round.
I like, in the trenches specifically, good football players. I don't like chasing an upside if a guy is not good at football right
That's
now.
a good point.
If a guy's good at football and he's a good athlete, what are we doing here?
Correct.
Any off-ball linebackers you think are gonna like Smile Money that I could see running fast? Bossa maybe running fast.
Yeah.
I think Boss is going to fly.
Both those guys, I think, are going to be very fast. Schlesinger, I think, is going to be very fast. Nick Martin, Oklahoma State, I think, is going to be
Chris
very
Paul,
fast.
I love another old
Chris
Miss.
Paul is going to be like fast enough, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Like
Like
4.55
4.6
for you?
probably?
Yeah, 4.6 is
Yeah, okay.
somewhere mid 4.6.
Mike said strict rules about speed.
I just it matters.
It does matter.
My guy who I think is going to move up the most, and we can transition this right into my sleeper because he is my sleeper. I think Q Robinson from Alabama moves
him.
up the most. The guy didn't play a lot of football.
Yeah.
I think like 340 snaps his entire collegiate career. He is going to run low to mid 4.5s at worst. The guy, incredible athlete and knows how to rush the passer. I mentioned him on with the first pick earlier today, but like, I don't know why he didn't play. We'll get to talk to him about the podium about why he didn't play. 'Cause he
Maybe
was
it's
a
a,
top recruit from Alabama.
Who was the kid that transferred to Arkansas?
Landon Jackson.
No, I'm sorry, from Alabama, got drafted by the Broncos. He didn't play there either because he's behind Will Anderson. Drew Sanders.
Drew
Sanders.
Sanders.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he had to leave
So-
to play. So maybe,
to play.
but they didn't have the edge. Yeah, I don't know.
They don't have the edge talent this year, and he still didn't play a lot. 270 or something snaps this year. So no clue why, but when he rushes the passer, he knows what the heck he's doing. He's a good athlete with long arms. So all that put together.
Let me ask you this, and you too. And I said this to Rick before he left us high and dry because he knows the Alabama kids really well.
RP Rick.
I said I would take him like bottom of the third as just a situational pass rusher.
Yeah.
Is that
It's top 100 guy for me.
That's usually where you take guys like that,
Right.
right? Guys that have high upside pass rush ability because you're not going to take them in first, second round because those are going to be full-time starters. But a guy from day one that can help you on third down, and we know this, the league is run by passers and pass rushers, right? You got to be able to throw the ball, and you got to be able to stop the person trying to throw the football. So if a guy can routinely affect the quarterback, third, fourth round is probably where you take that chance.
Jalix Hunt went back the third.
Yep,
right? That feels like the same
situational rusher for sure.
That you're going to.
And I'm at the point where I can't remember anyone's name. Who's the Utah edge rusher that the Broncos drafted last year?
Jonah Ellis.
So he's a guy that's going to come in, get 6 or 7 sacks, situationally, and you can sort of live with that.
Yeah, you would for sure.
All right, your guys' combine sleepers. Who you got?
Go.
Oh, okay. I wasn't ready for this, but
my bad.
You were.
Did I write
Go ahead. Go. Yeah, you wrote it down.
I said. Oh, right. I said Oladejo.
Guy we've been talking about all show.
You already
the
talked about
Oladejo show.
You know, I'm going to go another direction. I'm going to go with the guy that we saw at the Shrine Bowl and Kobe Bryant, Kansas corner, and he had a great week. He is undersized, and that's going to be a concern. But he plays, and we talked to him. He does not. He thinks he weighs 205. He said
he talks like it too.
He talks like it. He said his comp for himself is Jalen Ramsey, and I appreciate the ability to project Jalen Ramsey onto that frame. But he plays with an edge. I think he had an interception in practice, and that translated to what he did at Kansas. He's incredibly loyal to Kansas, and I think that translates as well in terms of a guy who's going to buy in and is all about ball. And I think he has a chance to be a day 2 guy, but I think the size is going to matter. I don't know if you have a speed comp on him yet.
No, he's pretty athletic. I mean, he is. I fully expect him 4.4-ish.
Okay, all right, now we're talking.
I think he's good.
Now we're talking.
So
you.
I wrote 2 sleepers. One we already talked about ad nauseum is Zay Frazier, so I won't talk about him. But Barron Sorrell from Texas.
That's a sleeper because I haven't actually even watched him. So
really,
he's a good player.
He's a really good player, man. I know people, get all hot and bothered by the 2 defensive tackles, and they're really good players as well. But when you watch, a lot of times when defense needed the big play, was Sorrell making it, right? I saw multiple times on 4th down him just destroy tight ends, right? Get in the backfield, make tackles for loss, and he has efficient hand usage as well. Like at the Senior Bowl, right? He kind of got lost in the mix because there were so many guys there. But I thought he had a really good week at the Senior Bowl as well. So I think he's a guy that's twitched up as well. He's going to test well, but he's going to be a guy that plays in the league for like 8 to 10 years.
You want to hear my comp for him? Yeah. I had to go back and check. I had him going day 2.
Yeah.
Lamar Woodley.
Ooh, that's an interesting comp.
Lamar was
bigger.
He was big.
He was like the undersized big guys. He
was
kind of like 6'1", 6'2", 260-ish.
Yeah. So
what is he?
He's 6'3.5", 253 at the combine. Excuse me.
And he's put together too.
But he's not quite as big as Lamar. But just in terms of the way he played the edge,
correct.
He plays super
physical on the edge, man. So I like this tape a lot.
I will have to watch Barry Sorrell. All right, that's it for today's show. We will be back on Thursday. I think we'll be back after they start testing. Right? They start testing Thursday morning. Is that right? DNs. No, we get kickers tomorrow testing.
Yeah. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Pete loves that.
Who's the fastest
will talk
kicker
about
here,
the kickers.
Mike?
Oh. I haven't done my kicker numbers yet. If it comes out a kicker prop, I will watch him.
Let me ask you
run down on kickoffs.
Before we go here, did you actually have to grade kickers at PFF?
So what I would do, I would have to put them on. What I'd do is just look at the numbers. Like just
save yourself.
Did the guy make it? And we would actually, what we would chart at PFF is where they made it. If it was in the center cut, if it was inside the field goal, if it was inside the right upright. So we would chart it, and you want the guy who has the best numbers who's hitting the center cut the most.
Did it work out in terms of projecting how they did, or you didn't get that far down the road?
I mean, it was as good as anyone else. So kicker will get to April 23rd probably this year.
All right.
All right. Until Thursday, keep pushing.